Hi, everybody. It's Mr. Monica again. We're going to continue today with our story of The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. And when we last were reading, Dorothy had been caught in a cyclone, which I reminded all of you it was very similar to a tornado. And the house had went up in the air and it was caught in the middle of the cyclone, where it said that the air was a little calmer. But still it was being lifted away, and Dorothy was scared and Toto was scared, and it was just the two of them, and somehow the swaying of the house had made Dorothy and Toto fall asleep. So we're on to chapter 2, called The Munchkins. The house crashed to the ground with a sudden thump, waking Dorothy and Toto and tossing them off the bed. Confused, Dorothy stood up and rubbed her eyes. The house seemed to be in good shape, and the storm was over. Sunshine streamed through the windows and flooded the room. Dorothy ran to the door and threw it open. She gave a cry of amazement at what she saw. The cyclone had set the house down in a beautiful countryside. Dorothy stared at the array of colors around her. She had never seen anything like this place in her entire life. There were lawns of bright green grass and trees bursting with colorful fruit. Gorgeous flowers were everywhere, and birds sang and fluttered in the trees and bushes. Nearby, a small brook was running between green banks. Everything seemed very peaceful and very different from Kansas. Wow, my friends, the way that the author just described that, I can picture that right in my head. All the colorful trees and the birds singing and the brook flowing nearby. Well, here's a little picture. As Dorothy gazed in wonder at her new surroundings, she noticed a group of people walking toward her. They were the oddest looking bunch she had ever seen. They were not as big as the grown-ups she was used to, but they were not very small either. In fact, they were about as tall as Dorothy, although, so far as looks go, they were many years older. The three men and one woman were oddly dressed. They wore cone-shaped hats that rose a foot above their heads, with little bells around the brim that tinkled sweetly as they moved. The men's hats were blue. The woman's was white. The men, Dorothy thought, were about as old as Uncle Henry, for two of them had beards. But the woman was clearly much older. Her face was covered with wrinkles, her hair was nearly white, and she walked rather stiffly. The little people drew near the house where Dorothy was standing, then paused and whispered something among themselves. They seemed afraid to go any closer. Then the little old woman walked up to Dorothy, made a low bow, and said, in a sweet voice, "Welcome to the land of the Munchkins, most noble sorceress. We want to thank you for killing the Wicked Witch of the East and setting our people free from her evil control." Dorothy listened to this speech with wonder. What could this little woman possibly mean? "You must be mistaken," Dorothy protested. "I am just a girl from Kansas who is lost. My house blew away during a cyclone. I have not killed anything." "Well, your house certainly did," said the woman, laughing. "See, there are her feet, still sticking out from under it." She pointed to the corner of the house. Dorothy looked and gave a little cry of fright. There, indeed, just under a corner of the great beam the house rested on, were 2 feet, wearing silver shoes with pointed toes. So I don't know if you can see the picture here. "Oh dear," Dorothy exclaimed. "I never meant to hurt anyone. Who was she?" "The Wicked Witch of the East, as I said," the little woman replied. "She has held all the Munchkins in bondage for many years, making them slave for her night and day. Now they are free, and they are grateful to you for the favor. Are you a Munchkin? Asked Dorothy. No, said the little woman. The Munchkins are the people who live here in the east of Oz. I am the Good Witch of the North. Are you a real witch? Asked Dorothy, suddenly frightened. I thought all witches were evil. Oh, I am certainly a real witch, but not all witches are evil. There are 4 witches in the land of Oz. 2 in the north and the south are good witches, and the people love us. The other 2 in the east and the west are evil witches who are feared and hated. But now, that is all that is left of the Wicked Witch of the East, she said, pointing once again to the feet under the house. Just as she did this, the feet shriveled up and disappeared, leaving the sparkling silver shoes behind. She was so old and evil, said the good witch, laughing, that she just dried up in the sun. The silver slippers are yours now. There is a charm connected with them, but what it does, we do not know. Thank you very much for all of your kindness, Dorothy replied as she took the silver shoes. But can you help me find my way back to Kansas? The Munchkins and the Good Witch looked at each other and shrugged. They had never heard of Kansas, nor did they know how to get there. They explained that Oz was surrounded by a huge desert that no one ever crossed. Dorothy began to sob at this, for she felt lonely among all these strange people. Her tears saddened the kind-hearted Munchkins, and they immediately took out their handkerchiefs and began to weep with her. As for the Good Witch, she took off her cap and balanced the point on the end of her nose, while she counted to 3. At once, the cap changed to a slate, on which was written in big white chalk marks, "Let Dorothy go to the City of Emeralds." And here's a picture of that. There is your answer, my child, she said. The City of Emeralds is home to Oz, a great and powerful wizard. The road to the city is paved with yellow bricks, so you cannot miss it. When you get to Oz, do not be afraid of him, but tell your story and ask him to help you. At this, the good witch gave Dorothy a kiss on her forehead, which left a mark that the witch said would protect her from harm. Then the good witch disappeared, and the Munchkins went away, leaving Dorothy and Toto all alone. Dorothy sat down on the front porch of her house to think. She decided that she would go to Oz. Otherwise, she might never see Aunt Em or Uncle Henry again. So she packed a little basket with food from her house. She washed her face, changed into a clean blue and white check dress, and put on her new silver shoes. There were several roads nearby, but it did not take her long to find the one paved with yellow bricks. Within a short time, she was walking briskly toward the Emerald City, her silver shoes tinkling merrily along the road. And here's a picture of Dorothy and Toto walking down the yellow brick road. All right, that's the end of chapter 2, my friends. We will read chapter 3 again tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed chapter 2. I enjoyed reading it to you, and I'll see you soon. Bye, friends.